I have that as my top strategy priority next to trying to get the Thunder project off the ground. So now, why is that not happening? I think the single most important reason is lack of dialogue within the industry. The industry remains incredibly fragmented, incredibly polarized. It's being hijacked by politics. I think, Honourable Minister, you mentioned that. Let's not let politics hijack the industry. It's been hijacked by egos. It's been hijacked by miscommunication, preconceptions. We've got to get rid of all that. Work together for the betterment of the industry and leave all the rest aside, because otherwise we'll die of it. So I've got a similar philosophy to that of Anup Mehta, who really inspired me in Hong Kong when he explained that he believed that a hell of a lot could be done if one was not going to try to claim credit for it. And I think if we could all work together, not wondering about who's going to claim credit for it, we could achieve a lot. So this is an invitation to do that, to try to, for all of us, to do something rather than be someone. A little bit more of the first, a little bit less of the second, a little bit more humility from all of us, working hard, like Prime Minister Modi. An objective together is what I think we need. Thanks a lot.
The GJEPC, President of the WFDB, President of the WBC, President of the BBB, distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, I guess, and Hein, my old friend and colleague. Thank you for inviting me here to India and giving me this opportunity to speak to you. Like Hein, there'll probably be, as Jean-Marc, things that I'll say that you'd all agree with. I suspect also some perhaps that make you think a little bit differently. So maybe there's a few areas where I have views that perhaps are a little controversial about what it would take to maximize the future. But please bear with me and give me the opportunity to explain why I have them and why I think different solutions are required in the future than those which we adopted in the past. I do want to say a brief word about India before I get going, looking at marketing. I think it's no surprise to anyone that we really are in the capital here in New Delhi of the world's most important diamond manufacturing center, and as others have said, an increasingly important consumer market, number 3 in the world, and over the past decade, one of the fastest growing diamond jewelry markets that there is. So it contains interest on behalf of De Beers across the spectrum, from exploration to our partners in cutting and manufacturing, to our retail partners and to consumers of diamonds. It's like a whole, and about obviously what the opportunities are to grow the sector more. Again, we'll share all of this with all of you in the industry in 2015 once we digest it all. But to give you one exciting tidbit, when we first did this sort of study back in 2002, about 2% of the target audiences that we spoke to had acquired a piece of diamond jewelry. We know that the future is not so predictable. And perhaps if there's one thing that we look at that gives us cause for concern, it is that not that we're necessarily, as an industry, spending less on marketing, because the big retailers are investing significantly. We've seen some of the work that Rio's doing. De Beers continues to invest significantly, $100 million in consumer marketing through its Forevermark program. So people are investing, but we're not investing as much as the competitive categories against which we're competing, particularly the whole digital world and the electronics world, but not only that. If we look at our share of voice in America, it's pretty much halved. Doesn't mean we're spending less, but relative to the others, we are spending less. So our share of voice is reducing. So we've got to find ways, not necessarily to increase, although I do believe we do need to increase, but to make what we are spending extraordinarily more effective and to work more effectively against the consumer targets. And that requires a deep insight into what consumers want and what our competitive advantages as an industry are. And to me, if there's one thing that this conference can generate, it's a commitment to understand what the opportunities are for our product relative to the competition. It's difficult for us to all align in a big marketing program in the way that we did historically. But if we all understand, I think, what the opportunities are, I think, and we focus on those in our own efforts, and we communicate strongly on single key points to consumers, we are going to break through, and we are going to get our message well understood. So I think mapping out how we generate that alignment. I'll talk a little bit about the gift of love. We heard earlier from Rajiv a little bit about some of the other motivations that might add to us. I think those are the things we need to get a view on and align on. Historic knowledge around conflict diamonds, so there's an awareness of blood diamonds. So, you know, in the young consumer's mind, they're aware of our product category. We need to work harder to reassure them that buying a diamond is actually something that creates huge benefit for the countries in which it is mined, which I believe is fundamentally true today, and also in the countries where it's cut and polished, which I also believe to be fundamentally true today. The diamonds create huge benefit for the countries that are associated with them. But we need to make consumers aware of that, because they don't want luxury symbols that aren't things that they can feel good about. And when we saw that example from Rajiv about the Ferrari and Tesla, that's what that tells you. There's a whole emerging market. They want a very fast luxury car that goes from 0 to 60 in 30 seconds, or in 3.2 seconds. But they want it that is environmentally friendly, so they get both. So we have to appeal to those people. And thirdly, and this is the point, and the number one in the mind of De Beers is branding. Branding is something that achieves all of our goals. It reinforces the emotion of diamonds, the symbolism, what makes people want them in the first place, but it brings the product to market with contributions from everyone who participates in that brand, but it creates a differentiated product upon which you can make a margin, which you can then reinvest in the building of the diamond dream. It becomes a self-sustaining marketing profit category growth model. And that's why we're so committed to branding. We see branding growing in America. The figures are remarkable. Young people getting engaged. 5 years ago, said 7% of them bought a branded diamond. Today, a third say they bought a branded diamond. And in China, we know brands are critical to what consumers believe are quality product and trust. Brands create trust. They create desire. And most importantly, they compete.
He's speaking here on behalf of the CEO of Indiama, Tombola Carlos, who is not here today, or couldn't make it. In the interest of time, Paulo has been an absolutely gentleman. He is absolutely great in Portuguese. And he is absolutely less great in English. And I have convinced him that his broken English is 1,000,000 times better than your Portuguese. So Paulo, please come up, and whatever you say, the audience is sympathetic.
Our willing hope is to be in the ice stage of diamond pipeline. We want to develop the policy and the jewelry manufacturing. In this case, Angola welcome the investor to develop and expand its policy ensuring manufacturing sector in the country. Our organizational structure, Indiama is a group. We have our core business, the Indiama mining. We mine in joint venture with the local and foreign companies. We have sodium, this is our trading branch, and we have the not core business as a clinic, a big clinic in Rwanda, in the Diamond province. We help the workers and the community. We have the big branch of social responsibility, is Fondation Brilliant. We build school, medical assistance for the communities. We have one security group for our property, and we have the team for football, and hotel. We have a chain of hotel. We have the 4-star hotel in Rwanda. We have the VIP restaurant. We have a 3-star hotel in London province. We have the housing program for our workers, and some we sell for the citizens. The main subsidiary activities are the mining, sodium, and alpha-zinc for security. Our production level, we see in 2009 in the red line when the price of our diamond dropped so too much. Now, after the gas period, we keep in the green line our production about 8.5 million of carats. They give us around 1.3 billion of dollar revenue. This is the picture. We show that we still mining diamond one centenary. We started mining the alluvial deposit only in 1997. We started mining kimberlite. We have Katoka, the 4 largest kimberlite in the world. They have output around 6 million carats and the value of $600 million. And we have some in this medium project of alluvial. And so we give some area for artisanal mining activity. We represent 21%, 26 for alluvial, and 553 for kimberlite deposit. I said that we still in the good top leaders, 50 by value and 6 by volume. Angola has used down the KP chair, and we are welcome to Rwanda in the international section, in the plenary, and so we have some seminary. Angola will open dialogue for the three-party industry, government, and civil society. My boss is here, Mr. Campo, who is the government. Angola appointed as the chair of the process. Angola has the potential for diamond. We have kimberlite, we're still mining, and some kimberlite will continue to discover. We have the good partnership of all these leaders company. We work closely with Rosa to fund the new kimberlite pipe. Also, we are in fact another big company has really doing the bees, and only where the bees we find many medium and small size of kimberlite deposit, not the bees. We wanted to find the big deposit. And so we have the challenge of the job because the future kimberlite we will find they are located under 10 at 100 to 200 meters by superficie. We have the geological, technological constraints. We must to work closer with those companies to make sure that the kimberlite will put in production our price will be at the break even, and we can guarantee the payback return of investment. We have some possession from kimberlite, alluvial production, and the new development project will build the Diamond Museum, the luxury real estate complex. We see modernizing our city. We put the new building, and we want to put in Rwanda one area on the luxury hotels, restaurants, when we can sell diamond jewelry in our city. This is the reason to invest in Angola. Now, before to end, we say that Angola is located in the southern Africa region. This region is the most useful region in Africa. The country has Angola, Botswana, South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe. The RDC will continue to provide in the next 20 years more than 50%
the downturn, financial distress, driving more recycling with economic improvement. We'll see less driven by that motivation. And divorce, well, you know, if you get divorced, you don't always want that engagement ring. So that's probably going to carry on, but unlikely to be growing significantly. It'll increase with the number of marriages. So I think that will grow, but that figure seems, it might got a bit higher.
Interesting point about divorce. I mean, it gets you to another question. If the wife doesn't last forever, the wife will die.
Sadly to say, there's nothing actually better for our industry than a bit of divorce, because marriage is like a triumph in the West, a triumph of hope over experience. Everybody gets married again and again, and we find that the average price of the engagement ring rises with each marriage. By the third time, it's big numbers for us.
The president, so after they all have come, and we have also tomorrow, there will be more time for interaction. And you are a terrific audience, you are terrific, and you are terrific producers. Please do what you do best and do it as much as possible and as often as possible, so we all have more diamonds. And thank you, I think you deserve a big hand.
And my perspective contextually is within India, because that's what we do. We partner with mutual very high-end luxury brands, international brands, bring them to India. Our experience is nascent. The Indian luxury market, in the true sense, is less than 5 to 7 years old in the fashion business. And to that extent, it's a learning curve that sharpens and grows virtually month on month, year on year. But overall, it's a journey that's showing quite a bit of traction, although what we call the proverbial hockey stick curve, the inflection point, we all believe lies ahead of us, and that's what we're waiting for. So what I'm going to quickly focus, I know you've got lunch and then, of course, a more honest audience ahead. is a quick short 15-16 minute presentation on the last mile in luxury retailing in India. Just a bit of a precursor. Typically, in emerging markets, we divide luxury consumers classically into 4 buckets. So there are the early adopters who are what we call the experimentalists, who are constantly looking to, so to say, try newer products, newer experiences. Quickly going on to the connoisseurs, typically the collectors. These are people who like limited edition stuff, people who like to collect, and this goes across different categories and classes. You have the flaunters, and this takes on the, so to say, the badge value seekers, and this is the biggest audience, although I don't like the phrase, it is true, it's a new money market. China was a new money market 10-15 years back, Japan was a new money market 30 years back. India is the new kid on the block, and we are possibly the fastest rising, what I call the new money market, and to that extent the flaunters and the badge seekers take a large amount of the luxury consumers. And finally, the people who are the right, people who do it for themselves, people who are truly, again, as eyes, sometimes even the unpronounceability of the brand. So you need to make that first generation money customer comfortable. And the first step is keep your door. Sure, you may have a person who is standing behind the door as a matter of courtesy, but it starts with that. The greeting, the words, we actually created the vocabulary for our stores. So what are absolutely no-no words? Anytime the word "may I help you" is an absolute no-no vocabulary. It creates the pressure of purchase. So certainly when the customer comes in, you greet the customer, you create eye contact, you have a conversation about the weather outside, but you never ever say, "May I help you?" Because in a sense it's a way of saying that you're just to browse, you're not welcome. But on the other hand, you do greet a customer, and we create a lot of opening statements, and that's what we educate in the vocabulary.